Callie Finn, happy Wednesday. We're here to talk WNBA, and because we now are doing our show on Mondays and Wednesdays. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to our new YouTube channel, the WNBA on the the WNBA on NBC, and subscribe so that way you can catch us 2 days a week now. And that's a direct reaction to you guys and the support. So I just want to point that out because people are like, we need more. And so we're giving you more as the WNBA season is winding down. So Callie, I appreciate you joining me. You know, Callie, we didn't get to talk on Monday. So I saved this topic and this conversation for you because you cover the Las Vegas Aces, and I know that there's no one who I'd rather talk Aces with. But also, Callie, the Aces pissed me off over the weekend because they had one of the most lopsided losses in WNBA history. Yeah. They allowed the Minnesota Lynx to come into their building and bust their behind, okay? And it was the largest road victory in WNBA history. And I'm like, that's just not the kind of history the Aces want to be making. And the reason why I say that I'm pissed off is not because I'm an Aces fan or I'm particularly invested in the outcome, but it's because it was a national TV game. And when a game is on national TV, I want to be entertained. I want an entertaining game. I want to be engaged. I want it to be good. And what I watched, Callie, it was offensive to my eyes. The game was over in the first quarter. This is a team, they were once champions. They are two-time champions. They are back-to-back champions. They have, in my opinion still, I don't care what anyone says, the best player in the world still playing on their team. And I'm not even blaming Asia. That's not my suggestion at all. But this team, I cannot believe that this is what they did. That's even a bigger loss than when they played the Lynx earlier in the season. And it was just, the game was over in the first quarter. And so granted, I'm harping on Saturday, and yet they did play the very next day, and they beat the Golden State Valkyries. But still, Callie, I really have to ask, what is going on with the Aces? This is not the first time we've talked about them. What is going on with them? And the question I pose, not because I think they won't, but others, and many have been asking the question, are they even going to make the playoffs this year? And so, Callie, I'm done with my rant. I'm going to get off my soapbox, and I'm going to ask you, what is going on with this team that you cover?
Yeah, to say that this season has been a roller coaster for the Aces would be an understatement. And I mean, I've used this in so many different stories because this is not the first like major blowout loss that they've taken, right? So it's like, and a lot of times these losses come after maybe like a solid win or something like that. So the Aces keep giving you this hope, right? That they're maybe they're returning to the championship caliber that we've seen, you know, in their back-to-back championships and all these different things. And then it's like a nosedive. And this is a trend throughout the season. So you talked about this not being their first loss to the Lynx. In fact, this was their third time losing to the Lynx, and each time it's gotten worse exponentially. The first time they faced the Lynx, they did not have Asia. They lost by less than 18 points. I think like 16 points.
They were actually competitive for a little bit in that game.
Exactly. They actually looked competitive. Then they played them again. That was like maybe a 20 point or so. You lose by 53 points to the Lynx and I know we don't want to go like that much into the game, but I mean, it was wild. And you mentioned that it was a nationally televised game. It was the only nationally televised game for the entire day. So to me, that is just like unacceptable. And I know that like there are a lot of people that feel that way. That's how you would expect most of the team to feel. And that's something that really stood out to me with Asia Wilson. After they bounced back, like you said, the next day they had a back-to-back, they beat the Valkyries. That was another lopsided game. That was a game they obviously should have won though. The Valkyries were very shorthanded. They were down like 4 players, all these different things. So like, yes, they won the game as they should. But afterward, Asia Wilson, 3-time MVP, took to that media podium and talked about how she sent a message to every single one of her teammates. I don't know if it was a group chat, I don't know if it was individual, but Jewel Lloyd corroborated her story and said that it resonated with everybody. And Asia said that she flat out said, if you think that what we did against the Lynx was okay, we do not need you in this gym. We do not need you on our team. I think though that's a very stern message. She went on to say that she elaborated, like, listen, I want to understand your mindset about this. If you think this is if you think this was acceptable, then no, period. Like that's what she said on the media podium. Like, and she ended it in a very leaderly way. That's not even a word, but you know what I'm saying? Like she ended it it was very impressive the way she ended it. She had said, like, my message was that I understand. We all have, things happen in a season, but we need to be able to rely on one another and know that we are all going to do whatever we can to make this season the best it can be for each other. So I think that's huge for Asia to have that type of leadership. We talk about, like, yeah, maybe she's not probably going to be in MVP talks this season, even though she's the second leading scorer in the league, because of how ridiculous this team has been up and down and with its performances. Like we're just hovering around 500 this whole year from the start. So I do think, like, sure, we're not going to talk about her as an MVP, but that's MVP caliber leadership that hopefully will continue to influence the Aces in a positive way.
Okay, I hear
Yeah.
you. What is the vibe like around the team? I mean, Becky Hammond, sometimes she'd be looking distraught on that sideline and in these post games. And I've seen people like you and Nikias ask her sort of like how she's doing. You had that reference to, her saying that people they call when you're winning, but they don't call,
Yeah.
right, when you're losing. And so, but she just looks, like when Barack Obama, like they showed him like when he became president and then like all the gray hairs came. No, like she legit looks like she's aged this season. And I'm joking a little bit. I'm not trying to disrespect Becky in any way. She just looks like she's stressed. You know what I mean? And, the players, this is, last year the Aces had a wonky season too, but Asia had a unanimous MVP season. They made it to the semis before they got booted. I mean, at the end of the day, I think they finished fourth in the standings. Maybe not their standards, but like this is different. And they're getting a lot of attention. They're getting a lot of scrutiny. People are asking, can they make the playoffs? And so how are they handling this spotlight, which is not a positive spotlight?
Yeah, I mean, you asked about the vibe around this team, and I do think that that's like a great question to pose, because to me, it's clear. It's almost like confusion. And I think you can even see that from Becky. You talk about like her demeanor and like the way she comes off in these pressers. It's like she knows that this team is capable of more, right? And like, because we've seen it this season. I mean, we had high expectations. I think a lot of us did when we looked at, the roster that they'd constructed, adding Jewel, all these different things. It looks like, okay, you've reinvigorated your bench with Dana Evans and et cetera, et cetera. We don't have to rehash all the moves, but I do think like it would not have been incorrect to support the idea that the Aces were like on the track to get back to their championship ways this year. But then you see performances like the ones that we've seen, and it's not just the loss to the Lynx. There have been a few really concerning losses where things just don't make sense. It's like the defense is really terrible. It's impossible for them to score the ball. When you have all these Olympians on the floor, like it's not making sense. And so I think that for Becky, I mean, I remember even right before that game against the Lynx, I was talking to some front office personnel in the media dining room, and we were all kind of just like, this is a big game, but like this feels like a big game. You can feel it in the building, just kind of like walking around the arena and stuff. And one of the front office people that I was talking to was like, you know what? If they don't win this one, or if this is another weird showing, like there are no more excuses for this team, right? Like it's not going to make sense to keep saying it's about chemistry and all these different things. And then sure enough, the Aces took the court, and it was like, wow, like no more excuses at this point. So I think, to me, that's the vibe that I've seen. It's like it's everybody around this team. Like you look at Asia, you look at front office people, you look at Becky, and they're like looking for answers. I remember one time asking Becky about the defense after a similarly lopsided loss, and she was like, if I had the answers for you for how we can improve the defense, then we wouldn't have this problem. Like, I don't have the answers. You know what I mean? And I do think that was also, I think, after a loss to the Lynx, which is saying something. But I think that like that's really what it comes down to. Like that is the vibe surrounding this team. And I do think confusion is not the worst place to be right? As an organization, as a team, you're looking for answers. Maybe you'll find them by the end of the season and make a run for the playoffs. We know that this is a team that can make a postseason run just because of the core characters, Asia, Jackie, Chelsea, right? And I know this has been an interesting season for Chelsea, but still, I do think that postseason pedigree, it's going to matter, but they got to get to that point. So that's really what it comes down to. You're searching for answers and you don't have a lot of time to figure it out.
Listen, I think Asia Wilson and Jackie Young are good enough to get them into the playoffs, but my expectation for the Aces at this point right now is a first round out. Let me say this. To me, their path to getting any further than that is matchup dependent, right? Because look, they have not beaten the Liberty and they have not beaten the Lynx. I think they match up a little bit better with the Liberty. But they have beaten Seattle, they have beaten the Mercury, and they have beaten Atlanta, which are sort of the next set of teams that people look at as like contenders. And so we know that they're capable of beating any one of those teams. They've done it and looked good while doing it. And so can they do it over the course of a series is the question. And so it sort of depends on who they match up with. I'll even put the Fever in there, but they used to have sort of like the Fever's number, and they beat them one game this year, but the other two did not go like that. Now, they were pretty much competitive games, so, they might have a chance, but their path to getting beyond the first round is going to definitely be matchup dependent, but they have to be playing better basketball. Like, if they are still like win one, lose one, win one, lose one, we're one game above 500, we're not, like, your record is, you are what your record is, right? That's just saying something like that. I might be butchering it a little bit. And so I just cannot give them any more grace.
Yeah. And I think that's completely understandable. I think maybe I do think that's like the vibe surrounding the team. I mean, not to like circle back to that question, but like that seems to be the general consensus. Like there are no more excuses to be made, right? Because I think there was at the start of the season, I completely understood. It was like, whoa, we have a completely new bench of assistants. We've lost 2 assistants. We've lost most of our reserves to free agency. We've lost a key guard in Kelsey Plum, and we're trying to get Jewel Lloyd integrated. Now Jewel Lloyd has been moved to the bench. That's proven to be actually a fruitful move, but it took a lot of trial and error to get there. Performances where she goes scoreless or scores 2 points or 4 points or whatever the case may be. So it's like there are all these different things that, like, at first you could understand the struggles. Mm-hmm. Now we are more than halfway through the season. It's like it doesn't make anymore. You can't have like these major defensive lapses. You can't be, struggling to shoot and like all these different, like these basic things that you do on offense to put yourself in the position to score. Becky has talked about it a lot. I'm actually tired of talking about it because it's like, right. These are basic things, right? These are the normal things that you can see high level players doing. So yes, I think 100% we have the train has left the station for making excuses for the Aces. And now we just got to it's now or never. We got to pull it together.
Yeah. I mean, I do have other thoughts about like what could be after the season ends, what's next for the Aces. And so at some point we're going to talk about that. It feels a little premature now, but I just quickly want you to tell me 2 things. One, do they feel like the NaLyssa trade is working? Not like a detailed answer, but just like for them, do they feel like NaLyssa is working out for them?
I mean, I've heard nothing but positivity about what NaLyssa has brought to this team. And one thing I think is so notable about NaLyssa is she has literally had 2 practices with the Aces since arriving to the team. She has slept in her Las Vegas apartment, I think a grand total of 3 nights. So gotcha. Like that's saying a lot. The way that she's been able to adapt to like both sides of the ball, right, and like kind of find a role. Everybody seems happy. Becky has been very praised. So has Asia. That seems to be.
So they're good with NaLyssa.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. We have to wrap. So I just need a quick answer. Are they making the playoffs? What do you think? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. The Aces will make the playoffs. There you have it from the person who covers the team. Thank you for tuning in to the WNBA on NBC. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get as much info as you need on the WNBA as possible.